Laura.
Sì. De Angioli. Gabriele Carré non viene, però interverrà senatore Compagna. 5 o 6.
Questo della IRE non parla.
Chi? No, lui anche.
Tu fai tu il moderatore?
Sì.
Che taglio vuoi dare alla cosa?
Guarda, tutto il serie noi stiamo facendo alleanze di democrazie, paesi, autocrazie, i problemi dell'autocrazia.
Tu hai visto il taglio?
Per la direzione. Quindi
io devo un attimo fare un po' di editing, però
devi stare Cassino, devi stare Cassino, quindi io ho questo impegno questa nostra televisione, questo è il mondo.
Sì. Non c'è neanche questo discorso.
basta. Basta. Dove lavoriamo in
Sperimentare qua vedere amministrazione preso così
Adesso la pensione, la giustizia lavorare, che non ci tiene quelle ma proprio ci sono è un problema di nel senso non è
Laura.
Yeah, I do. I will. Is he there? Or did he leave?
Manager industria e linguista nel posto di Reggio, invece la invece guardata seria era la sua grande la di parte del passato del ma le chance di passaggio perché si separate se passate in vive posso proprio she has first 2 minutes 7 seconds of load.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see tutti. Se iniziamo a accomodare, take our seats. It will be starting shortly.
Was
Sta riesco se potete spiegare un po' avanti, così c'è un po' meno passo per chi entra più tardi. Buonasera a tutti. Good evening, everybody. And like everything we do, this will be a bilingual panel. So for those who don't speak either English or Italian, we're sorry, but the speakers will speak in languages that they're comfortable with. I promise from the next time we will have a simultaneous translation. Quindi buonasera a tutti, questo come sempre sarà un panel bilingue. Vi prometto che questa sarà l'ultima volta che non avremo un traduttore o traduttrice simultanea, però ci devo scusare, questa volta non lo abbiamo. Detto questo, welcome everybody to the second dialogue on democracy. We started the dialogue on democracy with Ambassador Percy, who's now senator, with the support of Fondazione Einaudi in Rome, the Indian Council of Foreign Relations in India in April of this year. The concern was a rising new geopolitical alliance which separated democracies and autocracies. And the concern was fueled with Russia's aggression in Ukraine, and the world suddenly seemed to separate not anymore on old geopolitical alliances, but seemed to separate on this actual basic concept of democracy. For me, this concept is especially very important. I'm of Indian origin, as most of you know, and India is the largest democracy in the world. And I'm lucky to have grown up in a country where I'm free to speak as I feel, I'm free to choose what I do, and there's nobody almost except my mother who can stop me. So that said, this concept of autocracy is gaining power, and autocracy is trying to explain their form of governance as even an acceptable alternative is, for me personally, especially offensive. Today's panel will deal with the Indo-Pacific. The Indo-Pacific is a theater which accounts for almost 80% of the world's trade, a very large part of the world's maritime traffic, and brings together Asia and the Indian subcontinent, which is almost half humanity. Conflict today at the doors of Europe, where Russia has attacked Ukraine, tends to spill over with China's bellicose ambitions against Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific in general. And it's a delicate topic, and it's an important topic, and we have a very good lineup of speakers who will address it. So without much ado, I request Senator Ruben Mercy to say a few words and start this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. And let me say how impressed I am of this gathering, the concept, the title, the idea, and the action that we are pursuing, together with the dialogue on democracy initiative, so important. And thank you for giving me the opportunity of meeting great friends here in the panel and among the participants in the discussion. I was a little shy, I became a little shy when you said just a few words from Betsy, because I have to have some consideration, but if please stop me or anybody can say that shows and then faster. But really, it is really an important issue that you are undertaking together with the cooperation that we have established with the groups that we know, or which we contribute, Roma Committee, Roma Panella, which now and people here know how much we have put in discussing major geopolitical issues, and not only geopolitical rights I believe that our discussion should start with the outcomes of the G20 in Bali. That is to say, the role that Italy, with the Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, played, as she did, in fact, in the previous occasion, COP27 Sharm and in Brussels, one of the fundamental keys of that success in the act that Italy has displayed during this three very close but extremely important moment of multilateral activity and the presence of the multilateral system, development, political and security. It is connected to the importance that Italy is giving, is reserving to the implementation of the action plan for enhanced partnership between Italy and India. And that was evident, it became very evident, visibly evident during the meeting, the bilateral between Prime Minister Meloni and Prime Minister Conte. The enhancement of relations across a wide spectrum of political, economic, scientific, and cultural dimension was in fact central to all the conversation, the bilateral conversation as well in Bali. And of course, there were the widest spectrum, and the big elephant in the room was not even bigger than an elephant, issues of energy and food security, on which Italy contributed very much. An individual pushed its country and with ideas and connections among the major players on this region. We have to consider facts that is evident, but the fact is that 7 politically and economically important countries of the G7 are ruled by liberal democracy. And in the present political situation, they are having, therefore, the highest strategic value, these 7 Indo-Pacific democracies, for all EU member states. And for all EU member states, because these 7 democracies, like all the 27 member states, aim at reinforcing their position in the collectively reinforce their position in the Indo-Pacific region on the basis of rule of law and freedoms. These countries, named Australia, India, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, USA, and France for overseas territories. We should, let me therefore recall, everybody knows that it's better to focus and to understand the meaning and the effort that was put among the contributors of the communique in Bali. It was not easy, it was said publicly, but it was a success. Because, at the quote, the participating countries in the G20, we reiterated our mutual positions as expressed in an forum, including the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly, that deplore in the strongest terms the aggression, the Russian aggression against Ukraine, and demand its complete and unconditional withdrawal from the territory of Ukraine. End of quote. In a contribution to Foreign Affairs, which was issued September-October issue of Foreign Affairs, Larry Diamond, a very important political thinker and analyst and contributor to Foreign Affairs, he said, and I quote, "The world will smile in a deep, diffuse, and protracted democratic recession. According to the Manus, 2021 was the 60th consecutive year in which more countries declined in freedom than they gained." And continues Larry, in his inaugural address, US President Johnson called on Americans to carry on a long, twilight struggle against tyranny. When he spoke these words, Kennedy, in 1961, democracy was far worse off than it is now. So let's not be too pessimistic. Most countries were autocracies, not just half and a half, but most countries were autocracies those times. And today, despite the decade and a half of democratic erosion and recession, the picture is much brighter, believe it or not. About half of all countries are democracies, and even when authoritarian regimes predominate, opinion polls show broad popular support for democracy in the world. Hence, most governments are not democratic. We believe that their legitimacy depends on claiming that they are democratic countries, even the worst autocracies that we are in our international community. And this consideration, I believe, are quite relevant for our topic. Our topic, because democracy in the Indo-Pacific, in fact, on 16 September 2021, the European Union joined an exclusive but growing cloud of foreign policy sectors that have published an Indo-Pacific strategy with the release of the EU strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. The European Commission followed 3 EU member states. It was they were the front runners, of course, in this experience in the Indo-Pacific, experience of democracy in the Indo-Pacific. The 3 countries were France for obvious reason, France and Germany and Netherlands for political contingency. They decided to start initiative on bilateral terms to join and to promote national strategies of cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. But then the US joined this small group, and therefore the 27 now are seeking to accomplish the certain objectives in the Indo-Pacific. It has been certainly argued that the EU strategy, just like the national European strategies, is largely a reactive, not, I would say, passive, but a reactive measure to externalities and ultimately involuntary recognition of the political shifts and the new fault lines emerging between the 2 global superpowers, US and China, rather than an intrinsically motivated fundamental evaluation of the EU policy direction with regard to the Indo-Pacific. In fact, while listing very radical policy proposals and initiatives, the EU strategy does not appear, and in fact this presentation is not only not sufficiently reactive, but it appears, this European strategy, to many observers, as not properly addressing the root cause of the Indo-Pacific discourse. That is, the discourse that we has to be confronted, and the discourse which is factual is the rise of China, and this China to a US-led order in Asia. And without this fundamental strategic position, the EU Indo-Pacific strategy does not seem, if the European Union does not seem yet to fall within the current Indo-Pacific framework pursued by the US and security partners in Asia. But it is a viable agenda, in my opinion. Also, this European strategy, as it is. And it's viable because with the US-China tensions over Taiwan reaching their highest levels in decades, Beijing is eager to line up diplomatic support, particularly from its major neighbors. And the European Union may be a game changer together with the US if they are united in producing a different narrative from the narrative that the Chinese government is offering. And that's because despite ASEAN's huge economic interest on China, it looks like the bloc is not going to give Beijing's the support that the Chinese Communist Party is seeking. And that is especially true on Taiwan. This is first because almost each one of the bloc's 10 members is or could be involved in territorial disputes with China in the South China Sea. And this explains the sense of moderation displayed by these countries on hand. On the other hand, we have to take into account that when former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, all the ASEAN countries, as Nancy Pelosi, all the governments of the other 9 ASEAN countries reacted and commented the stance of the Chinese government. They commented, warning that the world must abstain from provocative action, miscalculations, serious confrontation, open conflicts, and unpredictable consequences among major powers. That is to say, that there was a coincidence of judgment and expressions from the 10th and the United States, and the United States at the time. That has been not very much noticed, but it was significant. In fact, Beijing can never be seen as a preferred security partner by ASEAN countries. One of the reasons why Southeast Asian countries are reluctant to give China what it wants is that many have been quietly improving their relations with Taiwan, especially under President Tsai Ing-wen's new southbound policy. A flagship strategy has boosted Taipei's engagement with many countries in the region. And the growing importance Taiwan shaped ASEAN states' position in responding to Beijing's stepped-up military threats across Taiwan state. Indonesia and Philippines, for example, expressed concern over the safety of their waters during Chinese exercise. And in this perspective, the EU and Italian partnership strategy in the Indo-Pacific has to aim at further promoting and facilitating the already existing cooperation between ASEAN countries and Taiwan. There are at least 2 fundamental reasons. The first reason is that Taiwan is long-standing remarkable human rights record, and the adherence to the principle of rule of law is in front of all of us. And the second reason is that Taiwan de facto enforced one key feature of any consolidated democracy, namely the right to know, as shown by transparent managing of the COVID-19 pandemic. That is to say, and I conclude, sorry for being so long, there is a very important factor in seeing the EU and the US strategy in the Indo-Pacific on working on a common play field. And that play field may be, should be, absolutely should be, the play field of promoting rule of law and human rights, besides the security interests and economic interests. Because on rule of law and human rights, we have always to remember that 10 years ago exactly, on December 2012, the head of state and government of ASEAN joined together and published a common statement which was relaunching the idea and the commitment to universal human rights and to the rule of law. And that was last work already 10 years ago about this idea of human rights separated in different segments which has actually respond to national tradition and not to the universal conscience of the people and of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Without Senator Percy's inspiration, the dialogue on democracy would not have started the same way. So thank you so much for your support. Next, I would like to request to go. I'm sorry, I still can't pronounce your last name, so my apologies. He's the Public Director of the International Republican Institute, and
thank you very much. It's great to share once again the floor with you and other distinguished guests. What I would like to talk about today is about the European Union and the Indo-Pacific, and I'm very happy that Senator Percy made my job much easier by telling you all about the Indo-Pacific strategy of the European Union. As a Frenchman, I was very happy that the European Union has an Indo-Pacific strategy, also because part of French territory is actually sitting in the Indo-Pacific region. However, I think we need to be clear that the Indo-Pacific strategy that the European Union has devised is very unambitious, and you can understand that in many ways because it is true that right now the European Union has a lot of other fish to fry. There is a war going on at its source. There is an energy crisis. There is a food crisis that threatens stability on its southern door. So why do we care about this? Senator Percy told you, and Ambassador told you a lot about why we care, because 80% of trade goes to this very vast region, and because this is where growth now is being created. But I think it is worth stopping a little bit to try and think why Europe needs to care now more than ever about the Indo-Pacific. I think the tendency in our mind, there's double tendency in our European mind, which is sort of think that Europe is the center of the world, while it is not since 1945 at least. But another thing is to think that problems stop at our doorstep. And one of the problems that we've had in Europe, I would say over the past, at least the past 30 years, is that there has been zero strategic depth in our thinking. If you look at the way we're thinking about our policies, neighboring policies to the east, it stopped basically very often. It stopped in Kiev, in Kharkiv, at the furthest. There was not much thought beyond. We're only learning today that if we want to get some gas from the east, we need to go to Azerbaijan, and this is, we are relearning to think of Azerbaijan as an energy provider with all the problems, including human rights that this brings. Same about the south. There is strategically no thinking beyond the Mediterranean and the very small amount of land that makes the internet and Mediterranean internet. Even though the Mediterranean, the Arab world, and the Sahel are interconnected, I think Libya showed it to us appropriately very well. So if we already have difficulties going there, why should we even bother thinking beyond? Right, the Mediterranean, Central and Eastern Europe, and go into an area that for many sits very, very far away. And most people think of the Indo-Pacific as Seychelles, and Maldives, Hawaii, maybe places where they would love to go on holiday, but will never have the money to go to. Why should they care? Well, they should care because this is everything is there. If we talked about trade going through the Indo-Pacific, again, a very, very large region, this is going to be the only place where we're going to be able to trade from east-west. And east-west, the trade east-west now is absolutely fundamental because a lot of goods are produced in the east. They're very often going to Western Europe, and they have to go through somewhere. The Russian road now, the Eurasian road, is closed and will be closed, I can tell you, for a very long time. You can think of it for closed for at least 10 years. That is if Russia survives. And it may very well be that Russia is not surviving and we'll have another set of problems on our hand. The other places that we would need to go through on land to get goods from East Asia to the European Union are Iran, not exactly the type of regime we want to be dependent on, and the Persian Gulf, again, a very unstable area. So the only way to go is through the north, which so far is under ice most of the time. Well, probably not be for the whole duration of our lifetimes, thanks to global warming. But again, this is an area that is extremely unstable, and in which there is a very large competition between Russia and the West. So this is not necessarily where we want to be dependent. And now we are just left with the Pacific as the main road through which basically trade will be able to be done. But then, can trade be done in an area in which there is contestation of free trade? And I think this is where Italy has a role to play, because if we're talking about trade between the East and the West since ancient times, this trade has gone through the Indo-Pacific and it has gone through the Mediterranean. And what people usually call diplomats call the Mediterranean Allargata, the large Mediterranean, which here makes so much sense. So I think, why does Europe needs not only an Indo-Pacific strategy, but really needs to think the Indo-Pacific as the European Union for the future. I think this is mostly because of trade. But the thing is that the thinking needs to go beyond that, because I think Valsenoy and Senator Dempsey said it clearly, and I will just repeat what Senator Dan Sullivan, the chairman of the board of IRI, said on 26th of February. We are now in a long-time struggle, a generational struggle between autocracy and democracy. If we look at the Indo-Pacific, right now, this struggle is only forming. There are still many actors that want to remain, if not non-aligned, but still want to have option 4. And that is completely understandable. Whether from a trade perspective or from a security perspective, it is true that the Indo-Pacific right now remains fluid and still is fluid. A power like the European Union getting into the Indo-Pacific with the support of the United States would actually allow this state of play, which I think would be the right state to play for the Indo-Pacific to remain so. Because the United States and the European Union, and I think most of the neighboring states, the states neighboring the Indo-Pacific, with possibly the exception of China and Russia, have one interest in common, which is to keep all the seas that go from basically the Pacific down to the North Sea as a maritime road. Not the Mare Nostrum, but the Mare Libero, a free sea in which trade is possible. I think that was the thinking behind Abe Shinzo's first thinking of the Indo-Pacific, the first utterance of the Indo-Pacific as a strategic concept, and this is where we need to work together. Talking about an open sea, talking about a free sea, obviously that then means that we need to talk about democracy and human rights. I think we are seeing this not only in Eurasia, but also in the Mediterranean. You cannot have those countries that are democracies, those countries that respect the rule of law, make for strategic partners that are more reliable, that are simply easier to understand. And so this is why having an Indo-Pacific strategy is important for the European Union, but that Indo-Pacific strategy needs to take into account human rights, openness, and respect for the rule of law. I will stop here because I think there's much more time, and I will let my colleagues take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you for addressing what is currently the elephant in the room, which is most countries in the Indo-Pacific are democratic and want free and liberal trade and peace. Next is a human rights activist and analyst who works on Chinese human rights abuses in China, overseas, and she's been especially busy in the recent past, highlighting different things from Chinese involvement in the Qatar Olympics. Actually, I read an article by her today which was talking about sports washing, which is very important. So without much ado, Laura.
Thank you guys, and thank you all for being here. I'll try to avoid to repeat what Senator Clarity and Tigo have said before me, but obviously some points will come back, unfortunately, so please bear with me. The future of the Indo-Pacific is indeed, as the people that spoke before me have said, a future that regards us all. First of all, because we are in a globalized world. And we've seen recently how in that globalized world, any disruption, such as what I would call the enhanced invasion of Ukraine by Russia on February 24th, the lessons we've learned from the COVID 2019 pandemic, that disruption, we've all felt it, and we still see that happening when we see global repercussion of what Russia's invasion of Ukraine has brought around the world, starting from a huge food crisis, then leading into huge immigration flows and so on. We see that what happens in one place does not stay in one place. And I have to say, and Julio, I think we have tried to convey this message for decades. I mean, all the people at this table. I think this all proves, and we would hope that we will finally see how human rights is not just about human rights. When there are no human rights, when there is no respect of human rights, sooner or later, there is a spillover into the wider world, into the entire world. And I think we're all feeling and seeing how that is happening today. Now, to go, I agree with most of what you said, especially when you talked about the significance of Europe. It's no longer the center of the world. I would agree that Europe is currently a geopolitical war, not because it has to be, because of the way it acts. Julio, you kindly reminded us of the initiatives that have been set up. But I think we also have to recognize how the European Union, its institutions, but also individual member states, still fail to act in unison, to act together, to actually play that geopolitical role that they could. However, the European Union is also still the biggest market in the world. So when it comes to issues of trade, both in terms of how much our markets can be disrupted, we felt that all with the energy, we felt that with the trade during COVID, we feel it with the energy prices going on right now. But at the same time, that also means that we do actually have leverage if we wanted to use it. Unfortunately, in the current struggle, the current hybrid war that is being waged by regimes such as Russia, China, Iran, Europe is not using that power, but it's being used against it on the basis of the over-dependencies it has created and unfortunately continues to create. And I will address you directly, Giulio, Senator Conti. I was particularly, can I say, disenchanted, seeing the delegations of Germany, France, but also Italy, separately going for bilateral meetings with Xi Jinping in Bali, at the G20 in Bali, and seeing the President of the Council, Giorgia Meloni, coming out of that meeting, saying that she had asked President Xi Jinping to step up the imports of luxury goods from Italy. Now, I think we can all understand where that question comes from, where that demand comes from. At the same time, I find it quite disappointing because it fails to recognize how that is exactly the kind of leverage that the Chinese regime wished to create. We have seen episodes, and you will remember as well, for example, 2 years ago when we were pushing a motion for the recognition of the Uyghur genocide in the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Italian Parliament, a motion that was being pushed in parliaments, democratic parliaments around the world and has been adopted by many countries, how it were Italian entrepreneurs writing to the ministry, to individual members of parliament, asking them to please stop this motion, to stop talking badly about China, because they had been told by their partners in China, by the consulate, the Chinese consulates and embassies, but even by the Italian embassy in Beijing, to make them bold. So it shows that that question to Xi Jinping is exactly the kind of question they want, exactly as Nord Stream 2 or even Nord Stream 1 was exactly what Putin was seeking. So unfortunately, while steps in advance are being made, unfortunately, we are still falling for the same tricks that these dictators wish to inflict on us. Why are they doing this? Because it has been said, this is a global war of democracy. These authoritarian regimes have one fear: civil liberties, human rights, the natural quest of any individual to seek freedom, to seek human rights, to seek liberty for themselves. So they cannot see it anywhere in the world, because if you and you, we are free in this room to say what we want. That is a threat to the regimes in these dictatorships. In that sense, and because of the kind of interference, influence operations that are being done in all sectors of society, in my view, it is very urgent that we understand that what is happening in the Indo-Pacific, what these dictatorships are doing, is not just an issue that belongs to the Indo-Pacific, to Russia, to Ukraine, to Asia, to Africa, to the Middle East. It is a full-blown domestic threat. These regimes are actively trying to undermine our democracies, our liberties, our human rights, and everything that comes with it, including that creation of the biggest global market in the world. Unfortunately, as said, I wouldn't say that Europe is slow in recognizing this issue. It is simply unwilling to understand. Our current leadership is unwilling to understand the struggle that we are in. I'm going to conclude just on that note with a couple of, let's say, action points, which we would like to bring to governments, to members of parliament, to media. The first thing is exactly to recognize that this is a domestic threat that needs to be addressed in an allied forum. We have to stop playing the game of the dictatorships by dividing us. Now we have the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, going to Xi Jinping's court after Olaf Scholz went there right after his reappointment, self-appointment. We've seen French President Macron, they said, because he was not invited, has not yet received his personal invitation. And so I obviously hope that Italy will actually lead by not seeking such an invitation, or in case it arrives, to radically refuse it and maybe take a lead in the European Union rather than following the steps of France and Germany. To that end, we need a whole of government approach. We need to understand that this is no longer just a foreign affairs issue that is discussed in rooms among foreign affairs officials. This is an issue, this is a war that touches our energy sector, our economic sectors, our investment sectors, research, universities, the interior ministry. We're still waiting for Italy to respond, for the interior ministry to respond to the grave breach of territorial sovereignty by the setup of illegal, clandestine Chinese police stations all across the country. This is a war being waged through our own media. They're using journalists, they're using our own media, they're using commentators to undermine who we are and what our values are. This is even, I would say, a war that is being waged for our health sector. I mean, we've all seen the repercussions of the COVID pandemic. But remember that at the same time, this is the and it's still doing that in a lot of parts of the world, was also pushing its health sector. They're literally trying to get into every single sector of our society, and once they get in, they will use those sectors against them. So I hope these very large points can offer a point of reflection for further action in the coming weeks and coming months. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carla. I think Senator Jackson would like to quickly the talk, so.
I'm sorry, Mr. Frangiani, if I think the issue is hot. Let me say something which is not an answer, but is an integration of knowledge, because we are very keen about that, about knowing facts. And Laura is the person, the human rights defender, whom I admire. I wouldn't say the most, because I have Matteo, Thibault, Gianni, some of you, but I admire her very much for her facts. And if, to be truth, all the issues that you mentioned concerning the Italian position are mine issues. We have been sharing that, and she's fighting, and I'm fighting. We are on that, we are on the same boat. But concerning, since I've been witness, and also I'm not part of the government, but I'm part of a significant permanent committee of the Italian Senate, which relates to European policies of the Union, policies of Italy in the Union. I think it's very important to clarify one aspect. Italy is not, let me talk very frankly, is not in the same league. Is not in the same league or bunch of people as President Macron or Chancellor Scholz. We play in a different league, not because we are not founding members of Europe, but because in relation with China, with Russia, and therefore only vice versa with the United States, we have crystal clear, and let's say printed in iron, cast in iron, the fact we have as point of reference the Atlantic community, the European values, and the challenge the China and Russia pose. Now, what happened? Please consider facts. President Meloni had a long meeting, a very important meeting with President Biden, and right after with President Xi Jinping. I'm not supposed to know, and in fact I don't know what were the particularities of this meeting with debates. But what I know for sure is that true, there was a strong push on the question concerning the Italian economy, trade, with both the President Biden and President that was a very good point. But the push on that issue of trade was and will always be an issue of reciprocity, of protection of our intellectual property, of our entrepreneurs, of the basic factor of WTO, respect of rules. I would say that it was a discussion less than diplomatic, but the issue of reciprocity as a national interest has always been very clear in our interaction with the Chinese government, and will always be. And I'm sure that was the case also for that meeting. And in the meeting, there were also references which were somehow the other phase of the medal, but there was the same line of the references that President Biden made on Taiwan, on security in the Indo-Pacific area. And there were references of protection of, let's say, enhancement of Italian technologies and European technologies, that is to say, and the Italian policy on the utilization of the global share is there. It is very clear to the Chinese counterpart, as they are very clear our concerns about slave labor in Xinjiang. There's nothing right. We don't compromise selling the Volkswagen with other fundamental principles. I wanted to make this very clear because let's not be oversimplistic in saying the Europeans went separately. They couldn't go together because their sensitivity probably, and I'm sure, as you mentioned, is not the same. The Italian sensitivity is another. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Dissidents, dissidenti is the topic of Gianni Vermendi's latest book by the story, which traces the struggle of Tibet, of Hong Kong, of Taiwan, of Ukraine, of various citizens who fight autocracies to maintain their identity and their survival. Ladies and gentlemen, Gianni Vermendi, a former member of the Italian Parliament. Gianni.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for the invitation to this important meeting. First of all, I would like to begin starting from the last speech, the second speech of my friend Ambassador Terzi. We had the opportunity to cooperate together when I was the Minister for Foreign Affairs almost 20 years ago. And Ambassador Terzi was the head of the political department, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we had the opportunity to strongly cooperate together on several issues, starting from, let's say, globalization of human rights and democracy, one of the most important topics we are trying to address today. So let me start from a point. Also, our art touches this point. We are talking about there is a very clear framework, and that's the confrontation between democracies and autocracies. And this clear framework is even more clear in the Indo-Pacific. So I think that I'm almost very confident that the government will adopt a very clear position, let's say 1 year from now, when the government will have the opportunity to not renew that absolute memorandum of understanding signed by the Italian government, called the first government, primo governo Conte. The first government called the government was made by, let's say, two populist political movements. One was Lega of Mr. Salvini, the other one was the Five-Star Movement. I don't know who was leading that initiatives that led to the incredible signature of Italy of the memorandum of understanding of the new Silk Road. And I'm sure, I'm confident the new government Meloni will withdraw from that incredible memorandum of understanding. But I think that is a good starting point for our government. And I think that would be an opportunity to clarify the Italian position. That was that time when happened. Italy was the only country of the G7 signing the MOU with the Baltimore Initiative. And let's say it was the only founding member of the European Union. Other European Union, minor European Union member, mainly from Eastern Europe, they signed the memorandum. So it was quite a bonus for the international position of Italy. So I'm very happy to hear from Ambassador Perez from his voice that this is the framework where this is the direction of it. So I'm talking about the Belt and Road Initiative because the waiting was something more than a normal international problem or, let's say, normal development cooperation, as was, let's say, presented by the Chinese regime as, let's say, the millennial wise approach of China and brought the Africa, Europe. No, that was a clear exportation of a way, let's say, it's exportation of an authoritarian. So the Belt and Road Initiative was and still is, let's say, a clear, let's say, exportation of the tools and policy towards the African and European and Europe. All the alternative to the liberal democracy. So it's a clear, it's a model, it's an identity model, not just development cooperation between Asia and Africa, between China and Africa, between China and Europe, but it is an alternative model in clear, let's say, opposition of the liberal democratic model. So I think that the confrontation between the Belt and Road Initiatives, let's say, doctrine, it's not just a problem, it's a doctrine, and the free and open Indo-Pacific initiative. I think it's really the focus on what we are discussing, and let's say it's the most important challenge of the next couple of years. You can see at the moment on the China-Taiwan relationship, and when Xi Jinping took power for the unusual and for the first time in China, see this history for the third time, taking the lead of the Chinese Communist Party, set a clear sign to the war. Taiwan will be rated with in any way to motherland, and let's say the three words of the collective West, as sometimes Vladimir Putin is referring. I cannot design this way of describing us. There is a collective West, the collective democracy. It's a country that it does not. It's not a geographical issue. Is India that is a pillar of the quadrilateral security dialogue between India, Australia, Japan, and the United States. That I would like that it would become something much more than a dialogue, but really a political security organization in incredible framework. So these are, I think, the new framework that we are talking about. Some suggestions. I think that the international community makes some upgrade, some change, and I would like to give some examples. The quote I can read definitely the quadrilateral became a credible political and security organization. It should be something that should be absolutely important. I would like to emphasize this because I really feel that India is one of the key to this discussion. And we normally India is not in one of the priorities of the agenda of the European Union or even in general speaking the West. But I'm very convinced that when India will be positioned in these things, we could really change the balance of the confrontation between the West. I don't have to say good words in India because it's a fact, it's one of the largest democracies. And even if someone of us now is concerned about the abstention, but I really think that it will be a turning point in relationship with the West. In the general competition, the most important fact by the way, by no way, and for sure, is standing on the people around. It's really the real most important. Of course, we are facing a terrible war. We are facing a terrible war in the land of Ukraine, but that's it's not the key point in the general conversation between the models. I really think that the European Union has got a great relationship with India and Taiwan, to be honest. The free trade agreement between the European Union and India should be something on the priority list, especially after the freezing of the European Union-China free trade agreement after the absolutely incredible initiative of sanction and counter-sanction taken by the people of China against the European Union. And I really think that the summit of the major democracies, let me conclude now, that was exactly 1 year ago, for the first time, the Biden administration convened a very strong summit on democracies. So it was an essential way to try to get together on the democratic discussing strategies about how to tackle the new challenges posed by autocracy. I think that the summit of democracy put in a credible framework of time became an alliance, again an organization. How can we think about the United Nations within the Security Council seats, China, Russia, and the power, and we do not have a crucial important place. So I think that should be something that should be taken into consideration. And in the near future, when we talk about the confrontation between democracies and autocracies, and the future enemies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. This evening, we have the privilege of Fondazione Luigi Einaudi and the Global Committee for Rule of Law Panella. Our next speaker is the Secretary General of the Global Committee for the Rule of Law, Matteo Angioli, who is also a human rights activist.
Thank you very much. I don't have much to add to what has already been said. I just want to say basically, or just to make one point. First of all, let me congratulate on the establishment last April of dialogue in democracy. I just want to do it public of the and it's good to have you here. And speaking of courage, every time we get a message from us, I always think of lo vas d'elezione. Now, lo vas d'elezione is temple. And I think of Dante when he mentions lo vas d'elezione in the second canto of the Divine Comedy in Hell, because it's a quest for courage. It's that Dante himself wanted, and before with great German. So it was supposed to, Santo was supposed to comfort and infuse Christians with courage. So in a way, lo vas di Roma is a bit like lo vas d'elezione from the Divine Comedy, to remind us of the importance of keeping on trying and keeping on meeting like we are doing tonight. Well, there's one thing I want to try to highlight, which is the months ahead in terms of the Indo-Pacific region. We have the comprehensive and progressive agreement which is a wider agreement coming out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership that was rejected within the European context in Canada. But we have a similar agreement that will involve the Indo-Pacific region, which might be joined by the UK. I think this would be an opportunity to have a wider discussion including some member states of the EU as well, or at least to have the possibility to bring the subject again back on the table for the next few months or years, we don't know. So it would be interesting if you could attach to this dialogue, to this negotiation, the issues of the rule of law, the protection of the rule of law as a fundamental common ground to strike those deals between Indo-Pacific countries and European realities. And I think that one of the issues that we should try and keep on nurturing is that my president mentioned the right to know, which is something that has been officially sanctioned by the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, and which is now being discussed in the Parliament. We have already had a formal recognition by the Human Rights Committee, the Extraordinary Human Rights Committee in the Senate. It's something that we're going to work on in the next few months. And I think it's something that we will have to inform our activity as Global Committee for the Rule of Law. How? We have already established informal collaboration with the Taiwanese organization called Taiwan Organization Association for Human Rights. I just would like to suggest that we find common partners at the NGO level in India or in other Pacific countries, Asian countries, to keep on promoting the rule of law and the right to know, so that we can try and support and pinpoint human rights and rule of law as fundamental basis in the negotiation with the Asian countries. Of course, China being the most important player, because it's something that not only the EU, but the whole world, I think, desperately needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Matteo. We have one speaker online, which is Marco Respinghi, who is the editor of the webinar, and he can make it in time, so we're gonna try to connect him, and hopefully we can get him online. So, Marco Respinghi.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? I don't know if okay, I got a message, and so you can hear me. Sorry for my voice, I have a terrible cold. Thank you so much for inviting me to share some thoughts on a very relevant topic this afternoon. And sorry if I couldn't make it in person, so I'm remotely connected with you. And also, finally, sorry because I lost most of what you said because the connection of the sound, the voice was not very good. And I got a few glimpses, and I'm not sure I can really fit in with what you said at this point. And I do hope not to repeat too much, and I hope to be not too much generic. I'm a journalist. I deal with many things, among which director in charge of Bitter Winter, which is an online magazine on religious liberty and human rights, considering religious liberty both for believers and atheists the chief human rights, from which depends many other things. So we consider that very important, and that is the standpoint from which we consider things. Of course, we, Bitter Winter, and I, as director in charge of Bitter Winter, has also political opinions, economic opinions, but when we speak of this topic on behalf of Bitter Winter, we concentrate on human rights. So that is my standpoint today, which is limited, of course, but I think very relevant. When we speak of the Indo-Pacific area, of course, we are speaking of a huge portion of the Earth. And if we connect the Indo-Pacific with Central Asia, that becomes even bigger, and the problems become even more gigantic than they are, limiting ourselves, so to speak, to the Indo-Pacific area. In my opinion, the key point, the core question, not the only one, but the core question is, I think you already mentioned it, the People's Republic of China. China is a problem in itself, A, and B, it's a problem for the influence it exerts on nearby countries, Indonesia, Australia, very much. We know the attempt to control civil society and politics in Australia. Japan, maybe through a proxy, like to some extent North Korea, and the staggering neo-colonization of Africa, which is taking place day by after day, along with some rhetoric on Africa, wiping out the role that China is playing in that scenario today, not to speak of the role that China plays on the situation in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and sometimes in India and other crucial Central Asian countries. And this can be even worse if Russia thinks to go east, so to speak, and God forbids, follows some neo-Eurasian utopia, maybe finding some sort of agreement with China itself. From the Indo-Pacific area, which is our focus today, this Chinese threat to peace, and freedom, and democracy gets into the world through what it is called today the New Silk Road, or the Belt and Road Initiative, which is a gigantic infrastructure development strategy adopted by the Chinese government since 2013, and who invest in nearly 150 countries and international organization, which is a larger Chinese attempt to redefining globalization with Chinese characteristics. And this is a quote, of course. Well, why I say China is a problem globally and in the area, we all know it. And sometimes we are not, and when I say we, it's rhetorical, of course, not the people involved today. You understand me quite clearly, I think. China, we know it, and sometimes we are too shy to say it. China is not a peaceful country. China is not a democratic country. China is not only a non-democratic country, and former Ambassador John Kirkpatrick and the Reagan administration had something to say regarding non-democratic country and the West. It's not only a non-democratic country, it's a totalitarian country. It has the marks of a totalitarian country. So in a nutshell, this is quite the answer why the whole Indo-Pacific area suffers some unrest because of China. And let me just briefly mention why, from the situation of Indo-Pacific, China can become a real problem or threat for the whole world. I just need to mention the UN Security Council, where 5 members, China is there and Russia is there, you know, with recent problems, of course, and developments on that regarding Russia, but China is there, and it has many times something to say also in the Human Rights Committee of the UN. Would anyone allow Adolf Hitler to be in the UN Security Council? You may think this comparison is too far-fetched, but I just came from a webinar 2 hours ago on the Uyghur crisis, and I showed people online a documentary I got from the Uyghurs on how they are treated. And, you know, the names of people are substituted in the uniform they bear in prison with numbers, and this resembles us. Something. I'm going to India, exactly to Dharamshala, where the Tibetans in exiles are based in a couple of weeks, and to gather first-hand testimony of that. When I say it's a totalitarian country, when I say, do we want to have a new Adolf Hitler in the UN Security Council, I'm not making up things with names and easy rhetoric. It's a staggering reality. Again, another example, on June the 30th, 2020, Hong Kong, which is not Hong Kong anymore, as the Hong Kong we knew, but it's basically China, mainland China. It's becoming almost the same thing, past the new security law. Under the new security law passed on June 30th, 2020, Article 38 gives to the Hong Kong, meaning Chinese police, substantially meaning the Chinese police, the mandate to arrest foreign national abroad if they are perceived as criticizing too much and being some kind of danger to the People's Republic of China. So I'm an Italian national. I'm speaking to people in Italy, but under Article 38 of the Hong Kong National Security Law, I could be theoretically arrested because I can be perceived as a threat. How can we think that the world, Indo-Pacific area, and the world is safe with laws like this, unrecognized law by foreign countries, but still, from the Chinese point of view, very useful? Maybe they will not implement them, but I am culturally scared and politically scared even by the mere fact that a provisional law like that is in action in Hong Kong and China. We know, we have a good friend, Laura Arth, among the speaker. We know about the police stations, Chinese police stations in the world. She's done wonderful research on that, and she's doing, and the whole thing, the whole matter is not clarified yet totally. I've been called by many journals abroad, foreign journals, asking me for details if I know about police station in Italy, and we know that there are many, and that the Chinese police station in Italy, sometimes they close offices when they are discovered by the press, but this means merely that they open new one undercover. If I put together the fact that we have this Chinese police station in the world, the Hong Kong National Security Law targeting foreign nationals, plus the memorandum of agreement that was already mentioned, signed by Italy and China in March of 2019, which is a blank check in a political blank check in the given to China. We put all the things together, we see why China is a threat in the Indo-Pacific area, because it's backyard at some extent, extending through these measures to the whole world. And I'm concluding saying that we for sure cannot speak of security and peace in the Indo-Pacific area without directly addressing the question of China. We have a totalitarian country with which we need to cope. In which way? Peacing it or else. And we cannot speak of security and peace in the whole world without directly holding China accountable. We mentioned a few times today the memorandum of agreement between China and Italy. I would be very, that I said it's on March 2019. Subsequent following governments say they were trying to fix it because it was not, So regarding the press in Italy taking propaganda, speaking, publishing propaganda from China. Subsequent government said we're going to fix it. We have a new government now. I'm asking the new government directly to revise. I don't know if you already touched this because I couldn't hear you well. I'm asking the new government, as a journalist, as a man who's dealing with information, and as a private Italian citizen, to put some hand to that agreement. That is a concrete way through which the Chinese regime acts in the free world against democracy, freedom, and liberty, starting from the threat that it's posing on the people in the Indo-Pacific area. Thank you. I cannot hear your applause, but I see you.
You can still do it.
Hmm.
Because obviously we very much felt the Chinese foreign interference inside Italy, inside the Italian institution, first time in 2017 when Senator Campagna tried to host a press conference with World President Golden Isa in the Italian Senate, but that was stopped in every way possible by the highest level of the Italian Senate. And just 1 minute, Giulio, in quick response, especially because we're, I would say, brothers in arms. Let's say that my soft critique is that it's a soft critique, it's an invite to do more because I think we all expect more of this government, exactly because we know, especially that Giorgia Meloni, the President of the Council, has expressed such a strong opinion in the past, and so an invite from my part, obviously thrilled that there will not be the memorandum of understanding on the Balkan Initiative with Via della Seta. We've been campaigning for that before it was even signed, so that's obviously a big win. But you and I both know, because besides campaigning against the PRI MOU, we've also been chasing, for example, the content of certain agreements, which we still don't know what's in them, but we know those are exposing Italy, people in Italy, to threats, they make it vulnerable to the threats that regimes such as the Chinese one try to inflict on us. So I hope it's really an invite to the government to adopt that whole government approach, to do a comprehensive study into the exposure of the various sectors that are being tapped both on the national level and on the local level, public and private, so that we can diminish those dependencies and actually, and this is really my hope, take a leading role on these topics within the EU, even against France and Germany, who, as you rightly said, still are too heavily invested in China in particular, and have not exactly been shining light for democracy and human rights in those areas. So I hope that Italy really will take this occasion to kind of invite all to you and to the community society to maybe investigate this further. Thank you.
Laura, persisting as usual, I'd like to invite Senator Campagna to say a few words, a few concluding words.
Risparmierò in inglese. Sarebbe un modo scortese per ringraziare l'ambasciatrice Liliana che ci ha invitato stasera e ha pagato a nome di vecchi gruppi parlamentari, cioè un gruppo di ex che non si rassegna a un ruolo di vista. E come diceva proprio Laura Hart, l'attualità internazionale è in movimento. Questa settimana abbiamo avuto nelle politiche nazionali l'eco dei giri, degli incontri e delle lacune che nello scenario internazionale paiono. Una delle più vistose è certamente quella Indo-Pacifica, che risale probabilmente all'intensità con la quale nell'immediato dopoguerra l'atlantismo si impose ancora prima del trattato. Pensiamo al vero leader dell'atlantismo, non soltanto in Italia, Alcide De Gasperi. Alcide De Gasperi, quando andò in America con la figlia, mi rendo conto che è difficile far avvenire anche in Italia, però quello che è necessario è l'alleanza delle democrazie occidentali. Per quanto riguarda strettamente l'adesione italiana, che avvenne nel 1949, il Presidente del Consiglio De Gasperi, fu anticipata da come l'Italia affrontò la conferenza di Parigi. Alla conferenza di Parigi, dove De Gasperi fece il famosissimo discorso so che nulla tranne la cortesia personale, quindi potete ascoltarmi, però vista dall'Italia, io ho una testimonianza di cui Laura e Matteo avranno molto sentito parlare da Marco Pannella. Il giornale allora di Mario Pannunzi, che era il sorgimento da non di mondo, suggerì a De Gasperi: devi invitare con te a sostenere le tue ragioni una forte personalità di democrazia liberale. Ovviamente fu scelto Michelangelo, che poi diventerà ministro del bilancio del governo. Già, ma quella di Pannunzio era una mossa difensiva, perché nel frattempo a Parigi era stazionata attorno alla delegazione italiana quello che Pannunzio in una serie di articoli battezzò il vicemondo, che era nel movimento del Partito Italiano, che dipingeva non l'alleanza atlantica che non c'era ancora, ma l'idea di un'alleanza attorno alla democrazia liberale, alla liberale democrazia, non sperdiamoci nel contenuto dei sicari. Palmiro Togliatti parlava di ciò quasi degli stessi termini messicani con i quali ne parla oggi, più di 50 anni dopo, Putin. Quindi l'alleanza atlantica aveva un suo profilo tanto strettamente difensivo che in una prima ondata l'America la propose anche a tutti quei paesi ai quali l'Unione Sovietica impose di rifiutare, quindi sarebbe stata la posizione minuziosa per quei paesi. Oggi la realtà internazionale ci pone in una situazione per certi aspetti nuova. Il cosiddetto bipolarismo, usa Winston, mi sembra abbastanza tramontato, perché la Russia, nella misura in cui è sopravvissuta in tempi di putinismo, non è più neanche fonte ideologica del comunismo, come è stata la stessa Russia, la Cina. La Russia è anti-atlantismo, anti-occidentalismo, ma si è inanimita la cattedra di comunismo ed è del tutto fuori luogo e fuori misura l'anti-occidentalismo. Ma come è stato possibile tutto questo? Come è stato possibile che i putiniani siano stati negli ultimi 20 anni non tanto i comunisti quanto i fascisti, come ragione dire, ma è diventato un'ideologia della destra, dell'Europa, mentre invece il populismo, come fonte di legittimazione dei regimi comunisti, non c'è più e non ci può più essere. Ecco perché la questione cinese sta in prima pagina. A me francamente non piace tutta questa attenzione alla Cina. Avrei preferito perlomeno l'India. Da questo punto di vista, la Meloni, prigioniera delle circostanze, in questo suo conflitto internazionale agire, certo non è che può sollecitare lei degli incontri. Però ho l'impressione che la questione indiana si pone proprio come distacco dallo schema geopolitico che la vedrebbe incastrata e incardinata nel rapporto con la Cina. Il rapporto con la Cina è completamente l'amico del vecchio tracciato Taiwan, ma poi c'è un po', scusate se è poco, per quello che si dice nei suoi riflessi come l'idea, come libertà. Ecco, da questo punto di vista io mi farei una domanda per il passato e mi vorrei un obiettivo per il futuro. Nel passato perché questo è avvenuto? Perché l'Europa è stato uno dei termini più ambigui e più equivoci del dizionario internazionale. Marco Pannella evocava l'Europa e gli sembrava di evocare tutto insieme, di Gasperi e di Pannella, ma anche il manifesto europeo e quant'altro. Ma non è più così, perché in Europa, per l'Europa e per il mondo è avvenuta una disgregazione e una contaminazione digitale. Romano Prodi, che non è un che ha tutt'altri maestri e punti nella sua concezione del mondo, con molta intelligenza schedulare definitivamente quel che rimaneva del sogno di Gasperi in generale e degli obiettivi inventò bene, inventò l'Europa che mi serve. Dice di averlo fatto, se ne andava tutta la verità col consenso di Putin, ma l'Europa può ampliarsi. E l'ampliamento più significativo che aveva registrato la vecchia Europa Seri è stata in direzione dell'Inghilterra e lo abbiamo perduto. Ma l'Europa seria di sé è niente. Se l'Europa può essere anche un riferimento politico o etico-politico, come avrebbe detto Pedro Croce, che sarebbe piaciuto a Marco Pannella. L'Europa deve precisare quel che vuole essere. È stato un passaggio che non mi sono perduto dell'ambasciatore del ministro terzo di Giunta, ma come giovane, che all'epoca sembrava un bambino, la comunità europea di difesa negli anni 50 fu sconfitta dalla Francia in rigore, nonostante il presidente del Consiglio francese tutto fosse grande vista
Quindi l'idea dell'Europa degli urani non antisovietica, è un'idea degli indipendenti di vista, tanto comunisti, era un lessico però è una cosa che ha avuto una certa fortuna nello sregolamento di quello che c'è. Per questo l'Italia, dopo le elezioni, quelle che ci fecero pensare di 4 anni fa, che iniziò con un governo Conte, appoggiato da Salvini e da 5 Stelle, fece a Roma una manifestazione di generosità nei confronti della Cina. Io non dico che erano che fu un'autentica pazza, una prestazione di servilismo che non mi inclinare e in cui c'era tutta il voto politico riempito soltanto di assordante retorica populista dell'alleanza di governo dell'Europa. E l'Italia, in molti casi, ha da prendere le distanze da quella svolta cinese del principio dell'individuale. Per farlo veramente, la via migliore è che l'Italia si ponga anch'essa il problema dell'Indo-Pacifico, ma se lo ponga tutto dalla parte dell'India. Tutto nella continuità di tradizione storica con la vera Europa. Tutto questo non è facile, ma non è positivo neanche per il governo Meloni. Il governo Meloni rischiava di essere positivo perché la Meloni aveva cercato di inseguire con una propria dignità un certo tipo di antieuropeismo, un certo tipo anche profilo di turismo, tutte cose dalle quali ha dovuto prendere rapidissimamente le distanze. Quindi dobbiamo ritornare, ripristinare la mente politica internazionale, un rapporto diverso anche con la nostra storia e con la nostra tradizione. L'europeismo alla Prodi era utile per il PD, per la sinistra, per cancellare, sfumare. Qui non serve più niente, non più nessun nuovo. Da questo punto di vista, a me sarebbe piaciuto più che alla guida della Candelina ci fosse l'ex ministro degli esteri del governo Monti, no perché parla italiano, ma un po' più sfocato, un po' meno provato per risolvere questo ruolo di trascinamento del. Allora, da questo punto di vista, l'India è un richiamo storico, politico di grande, perché non sono più i tempi in cui l'essere anglosassone è incompatibile con la causa di questa relazione indiana. Anzi, allora probabilmente il ruolo dell'Italia in Europa e per l'Europa è questo. Non dico soltanto questo, ma soprattutto questo. Questa deve essere la priorità della nostra internazionale, del nostro modo di porci in Europa. Con questo spirito ringrazio gli amici che ci hanno pensato.
And with this, we call an end to our evening. Please join us for a brief cocktail and thank you again to all our speakers. Have a good evening.
C'è.